Let's first off talk about what is a grain. It's a seed, right? Like, well, we eat seeds. Okay. Basically, this is a seed. We've got the endosperm there, we've got the little spot there, and then the hole or the outside there. There's three things that we need to be aware of with grain, or for that matter, legumes and dairy. They all kind of have three different variations. Dairy not so much, but legumes and grain. The first one is phytates. Okay, this is the first time I think we've talked about this one in this particular lecture, but phytates are anti-nutrients, okay, and they're in the grain itself. And what that anti-nutrient does is it bonds to the nutrients that are in the grain itself. So when you eat it, the phytate latches onto the nutrient, and then you just pass right through it. So you get nothing. So it's like you should have not even eaten it to begin with. What happens if there's not any nutrients in there to begin with? It'll just grab whatever it can on the way out. So if you've already consumed something, that phytate will grab something, take it from you, and then you pass it through. That's what happens with bone density. Okay, that phytate has a tendency to grab onto the calcium, strip you of that calcium, and then you excrete it, and you're having some osteoporosis. One of the main questions with eating really clean paleo is like, I'm not drinking any milk, how am I going to get my calcium? It's like, well, you're not eating any grain, so you're not excreting it. The United States drinks more milk than any country on the planet, but we also have one of the highest osteoporosis rates in the world. Neat little fact there. Okay, so we talk about this. This is an anti-nutrient. Okay, so it's taking stuff from you. Now, for those, if you see something, you read something, it's like, well, vegetables have phytates too. You're right. But they also have an enormous amount of other nutrients, vitamin A, B, C, and D, and the whole gamut of everything. So there's much more there, so that there's a lot extra. So you're actually gaining something from that. The next one, okay, the buzzword, okay, gluten. And these next two are similar. We'll talk about this next one too. Lectin. And they act very similar. There are little proteins. Okay, this more in grains and this more in legumes, but it's a protein that you consume and your body does not digest it. It goes into your stomach, all these acids are in there, and it does not get digested. And it passes through, and then it irritates your small intestine to the point where the microvilli in there that extract all the good stuff, it irritates it and causes inflammation. We know what inflammation is, right? Okay, how many people, and we were talking about this weekend, go out and you have a pizza, okay, give you probably a little heartburn maybe, your gut feels a little bloated, but then you kind of forget about it, but then the next morning your shoulders are achy, your knees are achy. It's because of that big gluten bomb you had the night before caused the big spike in insulin. And you may not even realize that. And that's one of the beautiful things about our 30-day challenge is we need total compliance for 30 days because that's how long it takes your stomach and your small intestine to heal. And so even if you have that one cookie on day 15, man, you gotta stay tight. You gotta stay tight. So these proteins, we talk about this, we kind of got on a tangent. These proteins, they don't get digested, and what happens is they get into your small intestine and they go in your bloodstream. So these little proteins are floating around in your bloodstream, and your body's like, hey, that's not supposed to be there. So it starts building an immune response. And it says, all right, time to get rid of this invader. So it starts building all these antibodies and it goes to attack that. Well, that gluten or that lectin protein looks an awful lot like maybe, let's take for example, a beta cell in your pancreas. So it starts attacking the gluten or the lectin protein, but it's also attacking your beta cell in your pancreas. What happens if it attacks your beta cell? What happens to you physically? You become type 1 diabetic. So your immune response that was caused by the gluten or the lectin also attacks your beta cells and you become type 1. True story. I have an uncle, he's type 1, has been since he was like 12 or 13 years old. He's in his 60s now, found out he's been celiac his whole life. And that may have been a major cause of that. Same thing if it attacks your joints. Okay, that antibiotic, that autoimmune, that immune response can cause MS. It can cause all these other different autoimmune illnesses, whether it's Hashimoto's, Crohn's disease, has a tendency to do numbers with fertility. So that's the main thing. So that's why we stay away. Okay? And you'll see people say, well, quinoa, or is that how we say it? You're the quinoa, right? Quinoa, right? It's gluten-free. It is. But it has another protein in there that's not named gluten that has the same stuff. Okay? So we talk about it. We have wheat, okay, which, by the way, is nothing like the wheat from 50 years ago. Rye, barley.
Sounds a lot like a beer.
I know. What else? Give me some other ones. You got any more? Quinoa, corn to a certain extent. Okay, and that'd be one that you can try to reintroduce after 30 days. All right, let's talk about fat. Okay, fat. We like animal fats here. Animal. Sorry. And then we got some plants, okay? And they're not very refined. Okay, and we talk about the stuff we want to stay away from. Bad fats. Bad fats. Sorry. I'm hungry, sorry. I need fat. Alright, so the main one is trans fat. Okay? Corn. Right, how do you get oil out of corn? Okay. I mean, really. Canola. I urge you to YouTube the canola process. Okay, it looks like a giant machine. It's basically, it was invented in Canada. I think that's part of the reason this is here, right here. It's the rapeseed, basically rapeseed oil. Like, well, we can't really call it that and sell it, so we'll just call it canola oil. But it's basically these big gears, and they use a lot of like chemicals to strip it out. And it's very scary. And then vegetable. Okay, so those are the things you probably grew up using, your folks did. There's another one on here. Crisco. Is that right? Crisco? Yeah. There we go. Crisco. All right? That's cottonseed oil. So I think this one, I'm not 100% sure, there's one of these that was invented to make turkeys fat, and it killed them. So they're like, what are we going to, we spent a lot of money developing this, we need to do something with it. Oh, we'll feed it to humans. That may have been margarine. I can't remember which one. They all run together. And then, of course, margarine, which is straight out of something that they, margarine. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know. So, margarine is just another frankenfood. So, designed by a scientist. So, let's talk about our good fats. Lard, all right, I can spell all these. Butter, okay, tallow, do we know what that is? Tallow? You do, right? Beef fat, okay. Ghee, there's a silent H in there, you didn't know I knew that. Okay. What else? Can we think of any others? We can put butter there. Okay, those are kind of synonymous. These are the same type of thing. What's the chicken one? There's one that's they. You'll have to spell that one. All right. and then let's talk about our plant variations that are good plant variations. Why are they good? Because it's very simple to get it out of there. So we have olive oil. We have coconut. All right, and then some other good sources is avocado.
Yeah.
Go. What? There's a U in there, isn't there? That's right. I'm not. You're not invited next time.
And you know what we didn't hit on was peanut oil.
Peanut oil's over here.
Yeah.
Peanut oil. All right. So these are the things we should be cooking with. They've been used for eons. They're good for you, and they're great sources of fuel. Okay, Matt was touching on carbs for energy. We can only store about enough carbohydrate in our system for about 45 minutes of activity, 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, we can store enough fat in our body to run 20 marathons. The hard part is being able to switch over and use that fat during activity.